ever watched a video that had a section like this?
Sindarin's consonants are m, n, ng, b, t, k, b, d. Sambasa's consonants are m, n, b, d, t. Sambasa's vowels are e, u, u. Dothraki's consonants are m, n, d, j, g, g. Dothraki's vowels are e, o, a, a. Ithquil's consonants are ma.
This goes on for a while.
Ithquil's vowels are e, u, u.
Okay, that's enough of that. I'm Logan Kersley. I have a master's degree in linguistics and about 25 years of experience in language construction. This is Logan on Linguistics, and let's talk about phonology, particularly phonology as understood by conlangers. I have never seen a video about a natural language in which someone just reads out a list of all of the phones or phonemes. And when I hear something like this in a conlang presentation, it frequently indicates that the presenter has a very shallow understanding of phonology. In particular, it suggests that they got their idea of what talking about a conlang looks like from Jan Miseli's Conlang Critic series, from which those examples are taken. This particular presentational quirk seems to be derived from Conlang Critic, but a shallow understanding of what constitutes phonology certainly isn't. Just coming up with a list of phonemes and thinking you're done is a sufficiently common error of beginning conlangers that the rconlang subreddit had to add this to their rules. We expect to see full phonologies discussing the likes of allophony, morphophonology, and or phonotactics as front page posts, not phoneme inventories. The problems of a Miseli-esque presentation go deeper, though. For one, showing a chart is great, but once you've shown a chart, just reading off the slide, pronouncing each entry in the chart one by one, doesn't really add anything. It's boring and kind of a waste of time you could be spending on providing more information. Tell me about the shape of the vowel space. Tell me about how the consonants are organized into series. Tell me what articulatory features this language cares about or avoids. For another thing, maybe you want to pronounce the symbols for people who don't read IPA very well, but a single pronunciation example per phoneme doesn't actually tell you what the phonemes are. At best, it tells you the elsewhere allophone. So, that's really the first thing we all need to learn about phonology. Phonemes aren't actually sounds, or at least not specific sounds. They are abstract phonological groupings of sounds, or more generally, abstract basic units of the phonological system from which utterances are composed. And each distinct way that a phoneme can be pronounced, or signed, or whatever, is an allophone. If you really want to effectively explain how a language is pronounced, you need to specify the rules for allophonic variation. That is, how do you figure out how to pronounce a given phoneme in a given environment based on position in a word, neighboring phonemes, dialect, register, and other social factors, etc. And keep in mind that how phones are grouped into phonemes can be radically different between languages. For example, my English idiolect has at least 4 allophones of T, those found in stop, top, pot, and butter. The first 2 belong to different phonemes in languages like Mandarin and Hindi, while the last one is considered a type of R sound in quite a lot of languages, including Spanish, which is about the least exotic foreign language you could think of for the typical English speaker. So, you've figured out how all of your phonemes are actually defined in a language-specific way, and you've determined all your allophonic rules. Are you done? No. A phonology is more than just a set of phonemes. It is a system that constrains how those phonemes interact with each other and with other features of the communicative medium to create larger structures and how they interface with other components of the language via morphology, idiophony, sound symbolism, etc., etc. Here I have the textbook Introductory Phonology. Just introductory. It is 316 pages long. Not the longest textbook ever by a long shot, but not something you can just absorb in an afternoon either. Applied English phonology here. is 248 pages long. That's including exercises, but still, English phonology is a lot more than just a list of English phonemes. To give you an idea of how much detail you can go into in describing a language, here's how much space is taken up just describing phonology in a few of the grammars I've read recently. For Nawat, 7 pages. For Tonkawa, 20 pages. For Northern Zapotec, also 20 pages. For Chukchi, 22 pages. For Gumuz, 36 pages. For Khmer, 44 pages. In Topics in Walpari Grammar, 50 pages. Now, this video is not an introductory course on phonology, unlike this textbook. And we don't have time to go over all of the topics covered in those grammars or these textbooks, but I will mention one more thing that seems to be a common blind spot in conlang videos: phonotactics, or the rules for where phonemes are allowed to occur, literally how phonemes touch each other. It's fairly common to see phonotactics addressed in terms of basic syllable structure schemas, those lists of C's and V's with occasional parentheses around them. That's better than nothing, but those schemas are only a start and leave an enormous amount of detail unspecified. For example, a basic syllable schema for English would give you no indication that you cannot start an English word with ng or ka. So, be aware, phonotactics is a thing that exists. To give you some idea of how important these things can be, I've put together a comparison of a couple of real languages and hypothetical languages with the exact same phonemic inventory but completely different phonotactic or allophonic rules. So, actual sentences in natural languages. Ua ai ke kanaka I ka huma huma nuku nuku wap wa amakahakai. That's 1. 2. Ich that sejan hyrde that hie gesawan sulche twegan michle merkstapan moresheldan. Now, for some nonsense utterances for hypothetical languages that use exactly the same phonemic inventories. Same sets of allophones, but different allophonic rules and different phonotactic rules. 1. 2. Ki da sejan hrude hi geso suka matapan kaldan. I trust that you can tell that those do not sound like the same two languages repeated over again. But I promise, those are using exactly the same phonemic inventories, modulo my ability to actually accurately pronounce all of the phones in languages that are not my native language. Now, your phonology for a conlang doesn't have to be as detailed and complicated as a natural language phonology typically is. You could, for example, just assert that there is no allophonic variation and every phoneme is just represented by exactly one phone all the time, and you could have very simple phonotactics, such that any vowel can replace any other vowel and any consonant can replace any other consonant in any position. With the right syllable structure, that bit isn't actually all that unrealistic. There are plenty of natural languages that come pretty close to that ideal. But the point is, if you are going to do that, you should know what you are doing, do it on purpose, and know how to explain it. For a good long time, I myself did not care a whole lot about playing with super complicated phonologies, so that kind of super simple system was fine. If your conlang is primarily an experiment in syntax, for example, and you just need to slap some sort of pronounceable form over it, a highly detailed phonological system doesn't matter much, and is probably a waste of your time. But phonology can be an expansive playground for artistic expression, and especially as I have been getting more and more into xenolinguistics, and getting more into the potential complexities of phonology, and building new foundations for phonological systems for different vocal tracts and completely different communication media, has been both necessary and a whole lot of fun. So, yeah.